NRL Fantasy Team List Tuesday, round 19. We are out of the bye period. This is a great time of year. And guys, look, before we tear in, I do just want to say my heart goes out to those of you with zero trades. Now, you know, sucked in zero trades. We're doing all these upgrades, and you were there with zero trades. I'm sorry, but it is too funny. Now, look, you do get 8 extra trades next week. So don't freak out too much. You're going to have to get by this week. But if you have zero trades, drop a zero in the messages, in the comments there. I want to see who's got zero. Because that is so good. All right. Anyway, let's get into team list. Let's get into team list. So round 19. Quickly, little hey for everyone. We got Stevie. How you doing? Mike was nice and early. Got JJ asking, think Knight's become any more or less relevant with Ponga gone? I think it absolutely screws over their attack. No Fletcher Sharp and no Kellen Ponga. Really bad news for them. And I think we'll see. I don't know, the edge guys, like the centers and the wingers, I think they become less relevant. I think the back rowers will get plenty of ball, so I think they should be okay. Fletcher Hunt, we'll talk about him as well. We've got Jack always comes in. I think you said this last week too, but Lenny is bad at fantasy. That is my official decree on that. Good to see you, Aiden. Cheers, bro. Zed, how you doing? 13 players, yeah. Just got to try and fill your side if you can. Jazz Tavanga. Yeah, we'll try and get Jazz on the show, mate. That'd be ideal. Everyone DM Jazz. Tag Jazz in my messages and through my posts on Instagram. We'll try and get him on the show. Yo, Cleary, emergency. Yeah, look, they'll probably come in and play, I would say. We're starting the edge. Hey, how's it going? Yep, hit you with that good stuff, mate. We're coming in hot. Super cheese. How's it feel? Penrith players aren't backing up. They'll back up. I've got some good tickets to that game as well, so I'll be down there watching Parramatta towel up the Panthers. We're going to get it done for sure. Late, I was right on time. It's always 4:05. Always 4:05. Got to give it a little bit of time to tear in. Now, before we get into team lists here, a couple of zeros to come through. A few on one there. Zero, but looking schnaz. Look, that's fine. You can live with zero. Yeah, we're not going the best right now. But we've got Talon the Silver coming in. 36 trades would be crazy. Yeah, a couple of zeros. And first time joining for Tristo. 2 trades left. Now let's turn to these team lists and I'll get into some questions here, everyone. So first team list here, what have we got? We've got the Friday game, 8 p.m. So it is a slow start to the round here. Nothing on Thursday, nothing on Friday at 6 p.m. Bit of a delay there. It's not ideal. So Thursday, if you do want some footy flavor, we do the Pick My Team segment on Thursday because Origin's obviously on Wednesday. And I'm at Origin. I'm not making content on Wednesday. Now, Friday, Sharks v Dolphins. For the Sharks, we got Kennedy at fullback, Katoa, Ramian, Talakai, Mulatalo on the back line, Trindle and Hines in the halves. Forward pack is AFB, Brayley, Kafusi. In the back row, we got Nakora, Wilton, and Cam McInnes. Interchange is Atkinson, Colhoun, Rudolph, Hamlin-Uele. There's nothing to report here for the Sharks. Look, at this point of the year, you're pretty much just going for top-tier keepers or maybe super cut price, almost keepers. You could maybe make a case for that. Or dead set cheapies. That's what you're going for. The Sharks have very little of that across the board. The fantasy relevant pieces, and feel free to fire through questions on Sharks and the Dolphins right now, by the way. But Nico Hines, with the 7 spot, a lot of us have him in our sides. My view on Hines is, and look, this is a mistake I've made before, right? But I'm going to be stubborn on this one, I think. I think Hines has that ability. We've seen him sort of get back to a bit of form recently. He's pumping out those, high 50s numbers. I think we're going to see him potentially heat up down the stretch. I'm hoping we do. And the thing with Nico Hines is he can so effortlessly rack up fantasy stats when he is on. So I'm just going to try and ride the wave. I think he's at, in the 500s there. He's pretty cheap. He's close enough there. And I'm just going to hope over the next couple of weeks that he shows those signs. If he's bad over the next couple of weeks, I will move him on if I need to. But at this stage, I'm going to try to persist with Nico Hines. I'm keen to hear what you guys are thinking there too with Nico. If any of you have him, are you holding on? Or are you moving off? For the rest of the Sharks team here, forward pack here, AFB he's been in pretty good form through the Origin period. Not amazing, but pretty good. So he's a guy I'm keeping as a keeper as well. I'll keep him on. These guys are sort of on the end of the bench there. AFB is probably a bit higher than Nico Hines, but I think they're good enough. And I think you want to save a couple of trades. So guys like AFB, Nico Hines, you can put him in your 17, keep him there. Nothing wrong with that. I wouldn't be rushing to move those guys out. Then the rest of the Sharks team, guys like Cam McInnes, Britton Nakora. I mean, there's not really many others that were super fantasy relevant, but those type of guys, even Blake Brayley to an extent, they're the guys that you could start looking at moving on. Now, you're not desperate to move them on. There are other guys like, Nakora would be the first I would sell out of that group. But guys like McInnes and Brayley, you only move them on if you've cleared out all the other rubbish in your team. So they're guys who, again, could be on that fringe edge of your bench there, but probably aren't quite at the top tier. A guy like Brayley, for example, we'll talk about Connor Watson when we get to the Roosters. I'm very excited about him right now. He's a 58 average when he plays hooker. And Brayley's more like that low 50s average, that 51 kind of thing. So there's a big gap there. I think you want to go with Connor Watson and Aaron Clark as your top hookers there. You make a case for Harry Grant reverting to form as well. So that's me on the Sharks. Let's hit some questions here. And first one, pick and pity your week, make it good and personal. Oh, okay. That's a tough one. Everyone, let me know too. What was your week? Highlights and lowlights. My peak of my week is I don't know if this is super personal, but my birthday is tomorrow, right? So tomorrow's birthday, Decider, State of Origin, and I've got through Swiftex actually, who sponsor one of our shows, I've got box tickets. So heading down to a box on my birthday, State of Origin Decider. That's going to be an absolute killer night. I'm absolutely looking forward to that. That's going to be the best. So that's probably my peak there, even though it hasn't happened yet, but that's definitely the peak. The pit. What's the pit? Pit of the week. Probably, I would say, sort of starting to see us, in that wind down period of the fantasy season. So, you probably noticed the views are a little bit quieter at this point. Like these videos were cracking 1,000 earlier in the year. But it starts to wind down as people run out of trades and sort of lose interest. So you get left with the best people anyway, the hardcore players. So it's still a lot of fun. But I'm starting to see that wind down and just thinking about, all right, what do we do once fantasy season's over? So I'm thinking about a few different content ideas, putting out some other stuff, drafting a Perth Bears team, for example, or, doing some positional rankings, some other analysis, maybe some film breakdown, playing around with some other content outside of fantasy. But, it was a sad realization that the fantasy season is going to wind down over the next month or two. So, because I do enjoy it a lot. So that's my answer to that. Now, we'll hit some more questions here. I got Aussie 5 trades. Random question here. Second year fantasy player. What was the greatest PPM ever? Oh, greatest PPM. It would have been some random prop. Like Thomas McKaylee, for example, has a great PPM at the Cowboys. It'd be some random player like that who had just amazing PPM. Payne Haas this year is definitely contending for it as well. But I'll try and find the highest PPM for a future video. Patasi. Yeah, hiding the toilet at work. Yeah, Jack Bird, brutal. Tamari Martin is off the radar, by the way, guys. He's definitely off the radar. Welcome, Oscar. I see you've joined as a member. Love it. Cheers, mate. Yo going to be playing. I would say Yo is going to back up. Yeah, 100%. Captain Pod, Cleary, not a bad shout at all. Terrell May's minutes have been a bit dodgy lately, so you could take that shot. Let's see how he plays in Origin is the big key there. 0 with a full 13 this week. Yeah, well, you got the full 13, so you're okay. Then a few questions here about McInnes. Easy sell. I'm pretty happy for you selling McInnes if you want to sell McInnes. So he's a tier below keeper, so definitely you can do that. Play Cook or Brayley. Depends on team lists. I want to see those, but I'm probably going to lean towards Cook with Couchman out. I think Cook played big minutes last game, and I think he's going to keep doing that. So I'd say Cook is the better option, but Brayley up against the Dolphins. If you think the Sharks win, then maybe Brayley's the better option. Actually, I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna go back to Brayley. I'll take Brayley there. I just think the Sharks will get on top in the forward pack, but I've been saying that about Dolphins recently, and they keep turning up. Still, I think Sharks will win this one. Then do you still trade in Yo, even though he's emergency? Make sure you trade from someone that you can reverse. So a lot of people got caught out with this with Jack Bird. We were talking about this last week. If you're buying a guy who's not guaranteed to play, you want to keep your trade as reversible as possible. So you want to be able to swap those trades back at a later stage if there is late news. Yeah, Tanner Boyd, he's a 47 average when he plays at halfback. He's priced at about 500K. Unless you think the Warriors carry him up to like a 55 average, he's probably not going to be on too many of our radars. Then take on the Dolphins here. Herbie, yeah, he's a unit. Yeah, Nakora, no. Too late for guys like him. You want to go top tier guns. I would go Angus Crichton over Nakora myself. Jesse Colquhoun, you can move him on 100%. We're stuck with Nico. He's looking at buying Nico. Jude's buying Nico. Okay. Nico's range of outcomes is massive. Like he's priced at a 44, so he's priced very cheaply. I'm not against the idea of going for Nico. And that'll be 3x Titans in my top four. Yeah, look, the Titans, they breed them well. As a Hines owner, we need Trindle out. Look, Trindle won't ever miss a game. Not turning Hines into another sunk cost. Yeah, well, that's part of the game, right? You wanna have that pod. I do think Nico Hines is one of those guys who can pop off for a massive one, though. And then Joey, cheers, mate. Happy 30th, 31st. But yeah, cheers, mate. Thank you guys for the happy birthday. Yeah, it's going to be a cracker. Maroons to ruin it. Well, last time I went to Origin was the game that Suoliti got sent off. So, yeah, I'm not a great omen here. And then, yeah, good to see you guys. Good to see you guys as well. So let's tear into the Dolphins team list here. Now, for the Dolphins, we've got the Hammer, Asako, Finai, Farmworth, Avarillo in the back line. So Max Finai taking the center spot, Avarillo to the wing there. And then we got Sean O'Sullivan with Katoa in the halves. It's not an ideal scenario. Then we go to Francis Molo, Marshall King, Nichols, and Finafuaki, Keeley, and Donahue in the back row. We've got Tawa, who was great in his debut, Lemuelu, Stone, and Kerr on the bench. So, look, a lot of guys who are super unheralded in this Dolphins side, guys who aren't really getting the hype, but guys who are playing well above their weight, especially in the forward pack. So, they're pretty hot options here. Now, for the Dolphins, what are we looking at? I mean, Herbie Farmworth's always a great option. I would love, I don't know, I would have loved it if that edge stayed intact. So we previously had Jack Bostock and Cody Nikorima on the edge there with Herbie Farmworth. We now have Sean O'Sullivan coming in and Jake Avarillo playing on that edge. Avarillo is a great replacement. Sean O'Sullivan's a very different half to Cody Nikorima. So I like O'Sullivan quite a bit. I think he's a great backup half. But Cody Nikorima just offers something completely different. So I'm keen to see how this plays out, but I think the attacking potency of that edge is going to be a bit less effective. And I think we will see less of those huge attacking days for Herbie Farmworth. So less of those hat trick kind of games, those doubles, and more just sort of work rate stats. So personally, I own Herbie. I'm never going to sell Herbie. I do think, though, he takes a bit of a hit with those changes, maybe 5 points on the average, maybe 3 points, like not a massive hit, but enough that if I didn't have him right now, I'd consider not buying. I would consider not buying an anti-potting and just hoping that he crashes back to earth a little bit. Because even if he goes back to a 55 average, that's still enough of a drop that you kind of win on that one, especially at 800K plus. I'd like a series where you make a whole video breakdown of a player that is liked by lots and had a break in their game. Can you understand let me know what you mean by that, Oscar. So player that's liked by lots, a break in their game. As in a form sort of break there. Yeah, but send me some ideas, guys, for any content you do want to see as well. So for the rest of the Dolphins team, Isaiah Katoa. So we can talk about Katoa here too, but let me just see actually. Have there been any games where Katoa has played with Sean O'Sullivan in the halves this year? Because Isaiah Katoa, he's dominating, right? So next to Cody Nikorima, he takes all the kicks. He's very, very effective in terms of his running game. So average here, 58 points. He's averaging 116 run meters and 450 kick meters. If we add Sean O'Sullivan, the issue is I think he played off the bench in a few of these games. Yeah, so let's change this up and let's go without Cody Nikorima. So without Cody Nikorima, we've got one game this year. He plays got 49. It was the first game of the year. Very hard to read into. Okay, so we don't really have much data. Look, my feeling on this is O'Sullivan will play a little bit more of a dominant role than Cody Nikorima did. So we're going to see a slight downtick in the base stats for Isaiah Katoa. Now, potentially without Cody Nikorima, the attack runs through him more. So potentially he sees an uptick in attacking stats. But again, like there's just a few. Cody Nikorima being out is bad news for Herbie Farmworth and Isaiah Katoa by about 3 points, I would say. So again, if you don't have Isaiah Katoa, I'd probably just give it a week and just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to watch and see how they play. Run, Hugo Savala up against the Dragons this week and just see how Isaiah Katoa plays next to Sean O'Sullivan. And if the kicking is a bit more even, which I don't expect it to be, but there is a chance that it will be, then you obviously take the foot off the gas when it comes to Isaiah Katoa. But if he dominates and Sean O'Sullivan plays that secondary role and is really just not kicking the ball at all, then obviously you can jump on Isaiah Katoa at that point. So that's what I'm thinking about him. So both Isaiah Katoa, Herbie Farmworth, I put the foot on the brakes a bit there with those guys. Now, forward pack here, there's not much to talk about. Jerry Marshall King is a big discount if you do want to take a cheapie. Not a cheapie, but if you're a team with not a lot of money in the bank, you could take him as a cut price option. Kurt Donohue's still a lot of fun. He's playing that lock role, so if you want to jump on Kurt Donahue, you don't have a lot of cash, you can jump on a guy like him as well. But generally speaking, you're trying to go for the top tier guns, so they're not usually going to be the ones you jump onto. Now, a few questions coming through. Hines to Isaiah Katoa. I did see your trades too, ballers. I wouldn't necessarily do this trade. I'd probably give it a week. I think Hines is a very good chance of scoring very similar to Isaiah Katoa this week. I would just wait and see how that dynamic is with Sean O'Sullivan. It's a completely different half in place. We've seen other players go from top tier to sort of dropping off a bit when a different half comes in. And I worry a little bit about that for Isaiah Katoa. Not a lot, but just enough to wait 1 week on that trade. One last trade, going Tapane to either Katoa, Firma, Preston, Yo, or Watson. I'm a fan of Watson this week. I think the flexibility is a great shout. Cleary ain't named in the starting side yet. Wild captain. Hey, it's a risk. It's a gamble. Start Cook or AFB this week. I'd be going AFB. I think AFB that first game. But if you can loophole, which you probably can, then do that instead. Holding Nico but not playing him. Fair shout. Brayley bench. Yeah, okay. So Brayley is just disappearing from relevance there. Rugby League 26 videos, that actually comes out super soon. I was thinking about that with Berg, so we'll run some competitions on Rugby League 26. More to come on that. To get into the Discord, guys, if you do jump in there as well, and we'll post about that. You can join some of those comps too that we're running. Then Ben Hunt time. Yeah, Ben Hunt playing at hooker could be interesting. We'll talk about him. Yo, Watson. I mean, you want both of them, really. I would go Watson this week, Yo next week. The Silver on the bench. We'll talk about him when we get to that team as well. So, look, it's mostly questions about the other team. So I'll keep rolling through in a sec. But Kurt Donahue or buy, I like him as a cheaper option if you're a team with no money. Now, if you're someone who has cash, obviously go a different way. But if you have no money, don't mind that shout. And then Frost Kings, cheers, brother. Cheers, brother. Yeah, it's a great day to have a birthday. Great day to have a birthday. Now, let's keep rolling through these teams because a lot of great questions coming through, but they're not about these teams. So I'll just keep running. Now, Knights v Storm up next. And for Knights v Storm, obviously the Knights are absolutely shattered by injuries. Fletcher Sharp, Kellen Ponga were their two best attacking guys, and their attack is the worst in the comp. So they're in trouble. Like, they're in serious trouble. And these players in the outside backs for Knights are in trouble as well. So you got Fletcher Hunt at fullback, who could potentially be a decent little cash out option. And again, actually, you know what? It's probably worth me just going across. I'll show you guys how to work this out because you can see this too. But if I'm looking for a player, let's see, what have we got? We're looking for YAFS. I go on the YAFS website, so yafss.com. That's YAFS, yafss.com. And I'll just look for a player like Fletcher Hunt. And you can actually see the reserve grade stats for these guys. So for Fletcher Hunt at fullback, we've only got 3 games in reserve grade here. His average was 26 across 3 games. He ran just under 100 meters a game. A few tackle breaks a game, not a lot of kicking, no tries, no try assists. Okay, so no attacking stats. So on the wing there, his average was a 28. So Fletcher Hunt's not really a big fantasy pedigree guy. But that's usually how I look at that stuff. So when I'm coming through with, this guy averages this in reserve grade and that, it's the YAFS website I use. So feel free to give me all the secrets, but feel free to check that out. And if you find any good insights, let me know too, because half the time when I share something, it's someone in Discord shared with me. Now, Fletcher Hunt could be a cash out if you want, but not a great fantasy scorer, so you don't want to rely on him long term. Young, Gagai, Best, Marzu in the back line. I think they all take a big hit with Ponga and Sharp being out. So I think they'll still have their big games because Hastings and Cogger will feed them a lot of ball. I just don't think they're going to be as potent. And then Hastings, Cogger, not jumping on these guys. Probably guys you consider for your draft leagues, but other than that, not really. Forward pack here is Safidi, Crossland, Thompson in the front row, and then Lucas, Pierce, Paul, and Frizzell in the back row. We've got Jaden Brayley back to the bench. That's a brutal hit if you bought him. Croker, McEwen, and Jones. And this is why I just never included Jaden Brayley in any of our buyers lists or anything like that. I might have mentioned him in a cheapie list like a month ago, but this is sort of why I didn't ever really recommend him, because I wanted to wait till this round when they had, a bunch of their guys back, and when we could see if with Leo Thompson in the team, he was actually the hooker. Now he's leaving the club at the end of the year. So he's going. Phoenix Crossland is their long-term hooker. It just didn't feel like that was going to stay the configuration. If you have Jaden Brayley, you keep him this week. You hope for a big score. He's going to make a little bit of cash potentially. I would say you generally try to keep him, and then you probably sell next week. If you need to sell this week and it works for your trades, do it this week as well. But he is pretty much done and dusted unless there's more injuries to the team. Phoenix Crossland as well. If you got him, it's a bit of a hit him going back to hooker. So you keep him a bit longer. He's rising in a bit of cash, and you make some moves over the next week or two. So really for the Knights here, I guess the questions are about keepers, right? So Fletcher Hunt's the cheaper you could talk about. Keepers, it's really the back row. It's Dylan Lucas and Kai Pierce-Paul. Now, Dylan Lucas is creme de la creme, top tier, absolute best center going in fantasy. One of those guys that you can run with Herbie Farnworth or Bo Firma, and you have the best centers going around. So nothing really hurts Dylan Lucas. In fact, we saw Dylan Lucas score 3 tries and nearly 4 tries when they were missing Kalen Ponga for Origin. They were playing against the Panthers. So that was a game where I think it was Tyson Gamble who just fed him some early ball in that game. I think we're going to see a bit more of that. So Lucas is essentially player proof. It doesn't matter who's in the team. He's going to be that guy. Kai Pierce-Paul is an interesting one. I look at him the last couple of weeks, the scores haven't been the best, but that last game he played, he ran over 150 meters. And usually when he runs over 150 meters, we see some attacking stats. So I'm going to say that Kai Pierce-Paul is one you can keep. And I'm keen to see how they play this week in this game. Look, the Storm, it's a tough matchup, but at the same time, they may rest some guys. I think they probably will rest some guys, by the way. So Kai Pierce-Paul could potentially be effective in this one. I'm going to say keep Kai Pierce-Paul at this stage and hope for the bounce back there. It's just been a small dip in form. I think it'll come back. That's my guess here. So for the Knights, that's really all it is. There's not many other players that I'd be considering there. For the Storm, and then I'll do some questions here. Pappenhausen at fullback. We got Anderson, Chan, Meaney, and Tuimalatu Brown here as well. Then we got Wishart and Hughes in the halves. Kami Kamitha, Garlic, King, and then we got Blore, Katoa, Asofa Solomona in the back row. Hezit, Itoa Kamanu, Valepu, and Lasardi on the bench. The extended bench has everything else. So Jack Howarth, Trent Loiero, Cam Munster, Harry Grant, Kane Bradley. Yep. So we're looking at, I snuck Kane Bradley into that, but we're looking at a pretty full list. I'm kind of surprised that Kane Bradley has been dropped out of the team completely. That's an interesting one. But for the Storm here, if you got these Origin players, like if you've got Harry Grant, in your considerations, you've got Cam Munster in your team, like these types of players, I'm going to say they're holds. And if you're buying them, then make sure you delay the buy until you know they're playing. Because the Storm are on top right now. They're versing the Knights, who are pretty weak. There's a good chance a few of those guys get a rest. I would say that there's a very high chance that Cam Munster doesn't play in this game. Tyron Wishart obviously is a very capable backup, and Munster's been through a pretty rough week. I'm not going to rehash that. I feel like everyone's talking about it, so I'm just sort of going to roll past it. But yeah, no, it sucks. So look, I've been through that myself as well. Lost a parent about 6 years ago, so my mum, and yeah, it's pretty crushing. I don't know how he's playing footy right now. Actually, it's pretty insane. But yeah, Cam Munster probably takes a week off. I would say. I sort of hope he does take a week off and does what he needs to do with that. And if maybe he takes a couple of weeks off even. So I'm still going to hold him on my side. I think he's a keeper level guy, and he's become a bit of a mascot for my team. So at this stage, Munster ride or die. He's my boy. But for the rest of the Storm team against this Knights side, you'd say there's going to be some attacking opportunities on offer. So Pappenhausen missed last week, comes back in, probably going to be the goal kicker you would expect. There is a small chance that Nick Meaney steps into that role again. Pappenhausen was dealing with that calf issue last week. So keep an eye on that. But if you're a Pappenhausen owner, I would say you hold on to him and you play him in this game and you expect a big score. I think it was just a resting there. For the rest of the team here, Jarom Hughes, the question is he keeper level? I think if you have Jarom Hughes, you absolutely ride the wave. Like Jaden's saying here, Hughes is going to pop off this game. No Munster against the Knights. What more could you ask for? I agree. I think Hughes could be big. Hughes or Hines scoring this week, can't loop. I would probably say the best option there is Hughes. The Qatar and Hughes combo there as well. Yeah, I'm going to say Hughes. Hughes is a much better scorer without Munster. Yeah, and look, they're just in great form as well. Like, he takes over. So he's been pumping out good scores. You definitely keep him. So that's Jarom Hughes. I think he's on the fringe of keeper level. I've got him a bit higher than Biz does. I reckon he's sort of more like that 55 he scored last week. I think that's going to be about his average. I don't think he pushes into the 60s. I think he's around that 55 mark. For the rest of the Storm team, Eli Katoa, keep a level, but you don't have to rush out to get Eli Katoa necessarily. He was probably one that you wanted to get over the last couple of weeks rather than rushing out to get him now. So I like Eli Katoa, but yeah, actually, I guess some of the other options have been a bit weaker though. So he does move up the rankings. So Kalamatangi's been quite weak recently in terms of fantasy production. Couchman's obviously out, so maybe Eli Katoa is one you could still target. If you like Eli Katoa and you're late to the party, you could probably still jump on. So that's the Storm there, done and dusted. In terms of questions, like it's pretty straightforward. Ellie, a must have question here, or can wait a week. I don't think he's a must have necessarily. I think he's a good option. I think Gus Crichton is a good option as well. Like there's plenty of good options in the back row that you can go for. I wouldn't be selling Preston Deli Katoa, by the way. I've seen people asking about that. Definitely wouldn't be doing that. Just on content here, international footy content. We've done a bunch of that actually. The most popular videos I've ever made have been videos about Papua New Guinea rugby league, actually. So when we were small, I enjoy watching Papua New Guinea play footy. I think they go hard. They run straight. They go hard. They play footy how it's meant to be played. And I made a few love videos about Papua New Guinea in a World Cup, and the PNG audience was awesome. It was awesome. Some of our most popular videos, actually, even today, even to this stage, they were still our most popular videos. So yeah, we'll do some international footy content as well, particularly the island nations as well. You know, you guys get super fired up about footy. I feel like Australia doesn't get as revved up about it, or New Zealand, but everyone else seems to get fired up. So we'll do some of that as well. Now let's roll into the next game here, and we're running into the Dragons v the Roosters. For Dragons v Roosters, what are we looking at here? We're looking at Gutho, Sloan, Sully, Holmes for now. Then we got King Tongia, Flanagan in the halves. Forward pack here is Gula, Cook, Clemmer. Then we got Leilua, Sewer, DeBellin, Little, Stewart, Laurie, and Molo in the bench there. Now, the lights have turned off on me just for the Dragons game because I think it's a sign that their season is done. Sorry, any Dragons fans about that one. Bit of friendly fire for you there. But for the Dragons, I would say it's tough to buy into any of this. I think there's a lot of pseudo keepers, fringe keepers in this team. Guys like Valentine Holmes, if we were lighter at center, we might be looking at him. Guys like, Flanagan's been weirdly good lately. Damien Cook, fringe keeper. If you have him in your team, you probably keep him this week and just see if those minutes stay because he played like 80 minutes last week. Then Sewer, DeBellin, like they're not quite there. I also think the fact that Hamish Stewart comes back this week will absorb a lot of minutes there, and Luciano Leilua as well. So from my perspective, we're going to see Michael Molo go into the starting team, Leilua go to the bench, and we're going to see a bit more of a minute share here with Hamish Stewart absorbing a few of those minutes. So Dragons, it's pretty much fantasy irrelevant. If you could sell King Tongia, I will say that. If you have King Tongia in your side, you can sell him. You can definitely sell Nathan Lawson if you have him as well. So anything about the Dragons here? Probably not too much here. Just Bay Harbour asks, if Cook keeps playing 75 plus minutes, Cook and Watson could be in the same level. Fair shout, yeah. Wait and see how it goes. It's probably a bit sideways to rush that trade this week. I think Cook will drop back in minutes, and I think Watson will be an 80-minute guy. But you might as well wait and see and just confirm that that's exactly what's going to happen. Thoughts on Gus after Origin? I'm thinking he's more of an option in round 20, and you'll want to see some form in round 19 to indicate it because we sort of want him to bounce back a bit. But he is very cheap, 600K, definitely a discount option. Definitely someone I'm considering as a fringe of the bench kind of guy. We just need to see that form sort of revert. But I think Sam Walker coming back is great news for him. And we'll talk about them in a sec. Would you trade Savala to El Katoa? You could. You definitely could if you need the position. I'm down for that. Look, Savala's a guy you can move on from, or you can keep him a week or two more. Both are decent options. Gus with Walker back is great, a great shout there. So Patasi gets it. Yeah, that's not a bad shout. We'll talk about Tanner Boyd as well. He's coming here too. Luai, edge bench, depending on origin. If he's going to back up, then yeah, Luai could be an option we look at as well. And then who would you sell King Tongia for? I'm probably going. I still like Talon De Silva, by the way. We'll get to the Eels team. I still like Talon De Silva at this stage. Crichton or Eli Katoa. I think Crichton is the better value option. Eli Katoa isn't a hot Storm side though. So Katoa has that high ceiling. I'd probably still go Crichton, but if you're buying this week, I'd go Katoa. If you're buying next week, I'd probably say Crichton. So if you can wait a week, you go Crichton. If not, probably Katoa. Would you still trade in Watson as a mid if you have Cook? Yeah, you could wait a week if you want to. I think Watson's a good edge of bench guy or potentially starting hooker as well. He's a very similar scorer to Aaron Clark, I would say, down the stretch. So I think those two are going to be the 1 and 2 at the hooker spot. Ficketti's still a buy. We'll talk about him and the Roosters there, but starting in the edge back row spot is great news for him. Radley playing his cringe. I'm happy that Radley's back. I mean, I thought he might get a longer rest than this, but hopefully his head's all good, man. Like, that's the main thing because Radley's fun to watch. Like when the finals comes around, you want Radley in the finals. So I would say I don't know it's not great for our Ficketty buy, but it's good for him. Crichton, Katoa, or Preston. They're all good options, just different price points. So Preston had a shocker last week, so I probably wouldn't jump onto him at this stage. Let him get a bit cheaper. I'd say this week it's Eli Katoa. Next week it's Crichton. When will Naf White be a sell? Probably give him another week, I would say. Just see what happens in terms of the minutes where they pan out. A bunch of guys backing up for Origin, so I think White's definitely a hold for another week or two. Do you think Watson shifts to the middle if someone like ZDC comes on? I think that happens for pretty solid minutes, actually. I think that'll be about 20 minutes of the game that happens. I think he plays close to 80 minutes. Holmes worth looking at. There's just too many good centers, so I'm going to say no. And Marky Mark is captain. Not really. He's back to the wing, which is good. The Dragons leak a lot of points. Like, he could potentially go huge. I personally am sticking with the big three for captains. So Payne Haas, Terrell May, Nathan Cleary. But if you want to have a bit of fun with it, you can do it. You can do it if you really want to. Then Jaden Longy, your prediction on the Ultra Pod Marky Mark was on point. Yeah, like when you make the graphic, mate, that's the key. Got to make the big graphic for the player. And Tristan Hope as well. He was our cheapie of the week too, and he pumped out 60 points. So we got those two right. And then Tedesco is the buy of the week. Scored about a 50, so not as exciting. But yeah, a couple of big ones in that game. Now, let's go to the Roosters here. For the Chooks, we got Tedesco, Tupou, Billy Smith is back. We got Toya and Nwani Tuase in the back line. Hugo Savala, then Sam Walker returns at halfback. Forward pack here is White, Watson, and Collins. Then we got Crichton, Ficketty, Radley in the back row. Interchange, Docker Clay, Steep, Butcher, and Lenu. So for the Chooks, looking close to full strength here. Pretty much back to what we're going to expect to see for the rest of the year. Saw Wong will be back in a couple of weeks' time. Potentially even if he's back early next week, but probably a couple of weeks' time. So for the Chooks here, we'll go to the back line first. James Tedesco is still a keeper. Don't sell him. You could still buy him if you want to. He's still a good option. Dragons matchup is very appealing for him. Them at full strength, we're going to see Tedesco go well. So I like him a lot. Then in the back line here, it's really just Nwani Tuase that you'd be considering. Still a decent option. He is a bit more expensive now. So he's up, at that sort of 650K mark. At that price, when you can go get Carraz instead, or there are better options. I like Nwani Tuase quite a bit, but there are better options out there with stronger base and stronger work rates. So I'd be trying to steer towards potentially going, Campbell, Jaden Campbell, Latrell Mitchell next week. Then guys like Tedesco is the top tier, and potentially Jacob Carraz. Like that's sort of the guys you really want to have. And then if you want to go cheaper, it's probably going to be more like, I don't know, Scott Drinkwater or, one of those types of players instead. Nwani Tuase, though, if you do want the pod, I'm not going to talk you out of the pod. Lomax as well. One of you guys mentioned this. This is a bit of a pod buy too. So especially if Moses comes back soon, Lomax is a great shout as well. Then for the forward pack here, we'll go to the halves. So Savala and Walker. This is interesting what will happen with Savala and Walker. So again, I just want to see Sam Walker's numbers. So if I jump across to last year, I'm trying to remember what, exactly statistically, because you remember the games, right, as a bit of a feel. But for Sam Walker, we'll go minutes over 70, so full games. Kick meter average is 227. Okay, so 227 kick meters. More recently, 2024, it was much higher. So it was 268. Yeah, okay. So he's going to take over some of the kicking here. So Hugo Savala will drop off in terms of kick meters, I would expect. But potentially picks up some other stats, maybe runs the ball a bit more. I think it's going to be a dip for Hugo Savala, though. Now, that dip may be offset a bit by the fact they play the Dragons, who love a shootout, love a high-scoring game. So there's potential that Hugo Savala can go well this week, but he's a sell pretty soon. Like you're waiting for the end basically with Hugo Savala. So I'd be thinking about potentially moving him on this week or holding him this week and hoping for some attacking stats. But we are going to see that base drop off 100%. Now, Sam Walker is just coming back, so potentially we see Savala still play more dominantly in this game and then, slowly hand things back to Sam Walker. So that's the Roosters there. Then for the forward pack, actually, good shout here too from John. Savala could pick up goal kicking. So Sam Walker's normally the goal kicker, but coming back from injury, they might keep it on Savala here. So that could be a little plus as well. Basically, I'm just saying I think you want to hold Savala this week and figure it out next week. For the forward pack here, Nafahu White, we talked about him. He's a hold option, I would say, for now, and then just keep an eye on the minutes there. Hope he can hold that big minutes average. The hooker spot, Connor Watson, played small minutes in Origin, has missed 5 of 7 games through the Origin period. So he's only played 2 games in about 2 months and played a bit of Origin as well. But he plays small minutes in Origin. Plays hard, but plays small minutes. So he's going to be pretty fresh at this stage. So I think Connor Watson is primed as one of the best buys of the year. He's going to be, and this is a spoiler, but in buy, hold, sell, he will get his graphic. He'll get his own graphic in the pods section. So he'll be the pod of the week is what I'm thinking there. So a bit of a spoiler. If you're here, you know. But Connor Watson, I'm a big fan right now. I think he averages about 60 down the stretch, and I think he heats it up from this week. So I'm tipping Connor Watson to go big. If you need someone at mid or at hooker, great option there and good flexibility as well. So it saves you trades later in the year when you can have a guy like him who can cover multiple positions. For the back row, Gus Crichton, we talked about him. I like him a bit. He's going to play big minutes, though. He's going to play big minutes, and that's my concern there. That in this game, I think he's going to have a massive game in Origin, and I think it's going to be a quieter game for the Roosters this week. So I think backing up will be a bit quieter. I think next week, Gus Crichton is a great option to look at buying. Celeste Fiketti, we love to see him in the back row spot. He's a good scorer either position, so he can play in the middle, he can play in the back row. He's about a 40 average and reserve grade at both positions. Again, we'll hope for some attacking stats in this one. So the Dragons leaking points. We hope Fiketti can grab a try. He threw that offload in the last game. It was an error. So he threw it a bit of array, but I liked that he was going for it. So I think we're going to see some good scores out of Fiketti and some lower ones as well. Then just on some questions here for the Chooks. Good to see you, Oscar. Hope you're doing well, mate. One of the buys of the year, huge call. I trust though. Yeah, it's a big shout. But I'm a Connor Watson fan, man. Then will Doc Clay impact Watson? So Doc Clay will come on at hooker, and Watson will play some lock in this game. Walker kicked 188 meters and a half of cup on return. Seemed okay with the boot. Good shout there. I'd say he will take over. I think he'll be about 50-50. My guess is 50-50 in terms of the kicking responsibilities between Savala and Walker, which is a downgrade for Savala because he was doing all the kicking next to Sandon Smith. Cook to Watson is not a bad shout. Gus, so cheap. That's why I think next week is a good option. Just want to see some signs of life there. Got a hooker and mids for this week. Is Watson still a buy? Maybe wait for next week then. His break even's about a 50, so he's not going to. Which I think it's a bit lower. I think it's like a 40. So you will get a little bit more expensive, but there's no rush to make that trade. You can wait a week on that one. LKT to Watson is a great trade. Absolutely love that. You reckon he's going to win Warriors or Tigers? Tanner Boyd comes in. I think Luke Metcalf's a big loss for the Wires. I'm going to say Warriors anyway, though. I think they get the job done. Then Gus will have a few brews after the W for the mighty NSW Blues. Yeah, it'll be at home. So, no flights to catch. He should be sweet. Watson's still an option if you have Clark and Donga. So Watson's still an option. He covers the middle forward spot as well. A bit of flexibility. You can play guys on your bench too. For this week, I'm going to say Watson is the best option. But for next week, I think it's Yo. Preston, I find it hard to back Preston in after that game last week. Now, we'll keep rolling through these teams here. And at the end, I'll do some trade questions as well. So Saturday night, we've got the Cowboys and the Dogs here. We've got Scotty Drinkwater at fullback for the Cowboys. Then Derby, Purdue, Laybutt, and Burns in the backline. Halves are Clifford and Dearden. Forward pack here is McLean, Robson, Neem. Then we've got Cotter in the edge back row spot. Nanai and Edwards at lock. Then interchanges Lawton, McKaylee, Kai O'Donnell, and Cohen Hess. Just a strange little team here for the Cowboys. I think Cotter is such a good lock and such an average back row, like edge back row. Such a good lock, though. It wastes all of his attributes because he's a dog. He goes hard. He just tackles everything. He's not really a line runner, though. He's not an edge back row guy. So I just find it a bit bizarre that they've got him playing out there. He is defensively strong, so maybe that's their plan. For the Cowboys, really, it's just a bunch of hold or sell. There's no one you're targeting here. So I'll go through it pretty quick. Scott Drinkwater is a hold, I would say. His recent form. So I bought him 2 weeks ago. He scored back-to-back 60s. I like the fixtures for this period and happy with the scores. Dogs is not a great matchup for him. Definitely not a great matchup, but if you can loophole, you do it. I still do think, though, he's historically been that 50 average. He's doing some of the goal kicking now. So he's going to bump up to like a 53, 54 kind of average here. So for him, he's close enough and he's cheap enough that you probably want to keep him as an edge of bench kind of guy. Now, if you do want to sell him, if there's a good trade to sell him, I'm okay with it. Personally, I'm going to try and keep him just because he is so cheap right now in the mid 500s that, with his scoring, unless he falls off a cliff, I'm going to ride that wave. Jackson Purdue is a firm sell. Rob Derby is a firm sell. Then halves here, Clifford didn't. You don't have those guys. Reece Robson might be a value at some point in the future. Cotter, Nano, you're not targeting these guys either. So look, the Cowboys is pretty straightforward here. Now the Dogs, they played last week, so you probably got on the guys you want from the Dogs. We got Connor Tracy at fullback. We got Karaz, Zeri, Crichton, Tuala in the back line. Burton and Sexton in the halves. So obviously, bit of news coming out that Montoya has got neck surgery. He's out it for about 6 weeks. Tuala seems to be the replacement there in the wing. Forward pack here, King, Marnie, Hughes in the front row, and then kick out Preston and Hayward in the back row. Interchanges Mann, Hayes, Curran, and Galvin on the end of the bench there. So for the Dogs, Karaz is a good option. Karaz is still a good option, 100%. If you want to get Karaz right now, you can do it. He didn't play last week. That's fine. He's had a rest for Origin. He was carrying a couple of nickels anyway, so probably not the worst thing for him to have a week off. He's probably not going to play in the Origin game. So he'll come back for this game well rested, and the Cowboys have been leaking a few points. I'm not against getting Karaz at all. If you want to get Karaz, he's a great option right now. The rest of the Dogs backline, you're probably going to ask about Matt Burton. Do you sell him? I'd probably Burton's pretty cheap. You can sell Burton if you want. I think he bounces back to that 50 average. He won't play center again. It was a big mistake him playing center last week. Oscar's asking, Burton looking like a season keeper. Probably not quite, but close enough that you might have him on the end of the bench if you want to. If you're a real believer in the Dogs and you think he's going to heat up down the stretch, then he can be a season keeper. He's just in that fringe sort of conversation for season keeper. Then, also we got some big questions here. Trelmere, Longy, 2 edges this week. Italica and Fichetti. Should I bring in? I have Wong. Eli Katoa is a good option, I would say, this week. If you're going for an edge this week, it's probably Eli Katoa. Drinky, safe to start. Fringe. I probably will start him this week myself. I'm not trying to burn too many trades this week. Just use the 13, make a couple of trades. But if you can do a loophole instead, do it. Because Drinkwater up against the Dogs is not an appealing matchup at all. Purdue to Trell. Yes, yeah. I think if you have Purdue, you need to sell him right now. So I'm okay with Purdue to Stroll. Do we have to trade Purdue because of him leaking cash this week? Yeah, 100%. Dog's also not a good matchup. So Purdue is a hard sell. You got to get rid of him. Just cash him out. Sell him to Talon De Silva. Boom. You make the cash, and then you're all fine. Mason to Drinkwater. Not a bad shout. Drinkwater just might not score the best this week. What's the best cheapie this week? 100% Talon De Silva at this stage, but buy, hold, sell tomorrow. I'll release that, and there'll be some more info on cheapies. Would you sell Garrick? Garrick's been in pretty good form recently, so I'd probably try to keep Garrick if you can, but he's also very sellable. It's up to you and your team. He's sort of on the fringe. I liked Garrick's performance last week. Manly looked okay. I'm going to try to keep Garrick, but I may end up selling him. He's sort of in that fringe there. Is it smart to get Big Tino instead of Yo because my opinion is better output, cheaper, and more of a pod? Yeah, I mean, Tino is not a bad option. He's not a bad option. He is carrying a bit of a sternum issue right now. So we're actually going to do one of the guys from Discord actually is jumping on the show soon. So we're going to do a session with Robbo. You might have seen him in Discord. He's a physio and does I've got to remember the exact degree, but it's like exercise scientist, that kind of thing. So he's going to come on and sort of give his thoughts on players backing up, carrying injuries, that sort of thing. So Tino is a big point of conversation because I want Tino on my side too. My initial feel is we wait till round 20 for Tino. And I'll talk to Robbo. We'll release an injury episode, like specialist injury episode with someone who actually knows what they're talking about in injuries and not just, me guessing things in that front and quoting NRL physio. So that's the Dogs there. Look, for the Dogs, Preston's still a hold. Probably not targeting Preston as a buy after that score, but he's still a hold. There's not too much else. Kick out. You can hold him to Talon De Silva versus Hope. Definitely Talon De Silva. Here we go. Sports Science, third year. There we go. That's the one. So from Robbo. Thanks for correcting me. So yeah, we'll have that episode coming out later this week too. That should be a cracker, going through sort of injuries and how they're going to affect those players coming out of Origin and their performances and minutes and that kind of thing too. Now, for the rest of the Dogs, not much to say here. So let's keep pumping through these teams. And we're rolling into Sunday's games. Sunday, we got Coruscant back for the Tigers. So Tristan Hope is completely off the radar this week. He is done. It was a 1 week thing, and you got to let it go now. So for the Warriors here first, Tuapiki steps into fullback. I'm keen to see him play at fullback. Always enjoy that. DWZ back very early. Pompey, Berry, RTS in the back line. We got Harris Tavita and Tanner Boyd takes a spot. No Tamari Martin. Hearts are breaking across the board. People with zero trades are stoked though. Then forward pack here, Fisher Harris, Egan, and Ford in the front row. Halasima gets back into the starting spot with Nia Corey. Aaron Clark at lock. Interchange is TMM, Laban, Valmunga, and Stowers Smith. So for the Warriors here, there's not much to say. Tanner Boyd, if you're desperate, like if you're really poor and you're desperate, 497K. Historically, he's a 47 average when he plays in the halfback spot. That's playing at the Titans, though. You could maybe make a case that the Warriors are a stronger side and he'll be goal kicking, more points on offer. He could potentially bump that average up into the 50s. I think he's a bit dodgy, really, as a scorer. Like you want that 55 plus at this stage, right? There's a chance he could do it. It's not a certainty, so I think most teams will avoid him. But if you want to pot up, I'm not against Tanner Boyd completely. Then for the rest of the Warriors team, DWZ is super cheap. He's about 270K. So if you want a strange little cash out, you want a loophole, a wing fullback, and all that sort of jazz, I'm not completely against DWZ. I actually think that's not an insane cash out. Scoring has been really bad this year. Obviously, he's not been scoring much, but potentially against Tigers, grabs a couple of tries. We saw outside backs kill them last week. Then for the rest of the Warriors here, Tuapiki, it's only a few weeks, so CNK is back in round 21, so we're not getting on Tuapiki. Forward pack, Fisher Harris, fringe keeper, hasn't been great recently, so I'm not really recommending him. Wade Egan has sort of fallen off as well. Like Alasima, probably a guy you want to sell. Like Aaron Clark is a season keeper, so if you have him, you stick with him. If you don't have him, I wouldn't say you go buy him. I think you can get Connor Watson, who's a similar producer, slightly lower producer, but at a much cheaper price. So if you have Aaron Clark, ride the wave, enjoy him. Heck, consider him as a captain option potentially in this game. But if you don't have him, I'm not going to chase the points there. And interchanges, not too much we're going to look at there. So a few questions coming through. CNK, how long is he out for? Till round 21. Tawa as a cash out, not against that. Look, cash outs you just sort of take a shot at someone. I like the way Tawa played there, so I think he's going to get more minutes as we go along. Drinkwater or Tracy to buy? Probably neither. I'd probably try and go for top tier guns, but Drinkwater is the better out of the two. Play Karapani or Drinkwater. Oh, probably Karapani against the Titans. I think you just go for the big attacking stats, man. Then who should I get if I trade Curran? Man, buy, hold, sell is going to be a friend. Check out buy, hold, sell. But Connor Watson I like a lot. There's a bunch of other options too. Jacob Preston, good to see you, mate. Buy me. He's going to bounce back. Well, look, if he says it himself, then he's pretty much guaranteed to do it. Antipod Watson with Robson. Robson's a big pod, man. He goes on hot runs every now and then. I'd give him a week after Origin, though. I think this decider is going to be a massive Origin game. And I'm trying not to buy anyone who's playing big minutes in it because I think backing up's going to be tough. Purdue to Hines, yeah, I don't mind that shout. Big pod, don't mind it. Ketty's safe to start. He is this year for sure, for this week, but not long term. Rank, Clark, Watson, and Grant. Clark, Watson, Grant. That's what I'd say. I think that's it's pretty straightforward. That's a 3 there. I think Grant could potentially be the best of the 3 if he gets back to form, but we haven't seen it. So I just can't bring myself to make that bet again. And these bloody player accounts, yeah, I love them. I love people coming in with their the player accounts. It's actually funny as. Now we'll keep rolling through these games. In Sunday afternoon, we got 4 p.m. Eels Panthers. Then we go into the Titans Broncos at the end. So that'll be us. So 2 more games, some trade questions, and we can rip into it. For the Panthers, just quickly highlighting this: Cleary, Edwards, Tor, Martin, Yo, all on the extended bench. My guess is most of them will back up. I think Brian Tor might not back up, just based on the injury cloud he was under for this Origin game. We'll go to Parramatta first. So for Para, we got Yongi at fullback, Lomax, Samrani, Russell, Addo, in the backline, Brown and Hawkins in the halves. Forward pack is Jack Williams, Joey Lussick, Junior Barlow. Then we have Gaima, Kautonga, and Hopgood in the back row. De Silva, Walker, Dury, and Tuavidi is back. Good to see him back on the bench there. So for Parramatta, Lomax is one of those. Oh, did I skip the Tigers again? Sorry, guys. I'll jump back. Why do I skip the Tigers? It's funny because like the last 3 weeks, the cheapie of the week has actually been a Tigers player. And that's a bit of a spoiler for this week as well. So the last 3 weeks, it's been Latu Fainu, then it was Tristan Hope, and this week it's Talon De Silva. His picture is a Tigers picture. He's at Parramatta now. But, for the Tigers here, look, it's pretty straightforward for the Tigers. Like, we're not targeting too many of these guys. So Terrell May, good captain option. Sunia Taruva at fullback didn't score that great, but I did like the involvement. I think if he was fullback long term, I'd be interested, but it's just not a long enough period. Adam Dewey's back to center, so that kills him. Jarrell Skelton's really cheap, but not quite cheap enough to think about it. So you just keep an eye on him. Jerome Luai, fringe keeper, maybe. Like, I don't know. He's sort of. I think he can average in that sort of low 50s area. He is nice and cheap. So if you're a really poor coach and you don't have a lot of cash, then you can go to Luai. Latu Fainu, I wouldn't expect that score last week to be what he keeps doing. I think he's going to drop off a bit. I would say that, high 30s average is what you can expect from Latu Fainu, unless he has some more big attacking days. It's pretty more like a 39, 38 average there. Then forward pack here, Terrell May's the main guy. Coruscant, Hope played too well, so you're not getting on Coruscant. Samuel Fainu, again, if you're a really poor coach, is not the worst shout here. Sukar comes in. Jack Bird's on the bench now, so that kills Jack Bird. He was not an option that we liked at all last week, and yeah, proven why. A lot of people got stuck with Jack Bird, which is a rough go. So heart goes out to you guys. Then, for the Tigers, Sukar, not a great fantasy producer. I think he had about 27 meters run last week, so he's just not that guy. So I'll quickly hit some questions here. And yeah, Tigers. Should I cash out Carrigan to Fiketti? Not Fiketti now. No, I would go to a full-on cash out. Go Talon De Silva or, someone super cheap instead. I bought Mason to cover the last 2 weeks. Do I get Hunt instead to fill my 13? Not a bad shout. Don't mind the Hunt move. You forgot the Tigers. Yeah. Stop skipping the Tigers. Look, I'm going to flash all these up to remind myself, don't do it next week. I got 2 halves this week. Do I still target Cleary? I'd give Cleary a week. Give him a week. Depends on how he plays at Origin. Last Origin, he looked a bit hurt. So I'd give him a week to back up and just give it some time. We will do a video after Origin, though, talking about whether he's going to back up and all that too. So give that one a watch 100%. Trust my gut with Tomoko. Nice one, man. Big pod there. Then Tigers getting brushed as usual. Hey, I tipped the Tigers last week. I'm a Tigers guy. Play Latu or Hines? Definitely Hines. Definitely Hines. Are you a fan of the 3 Sunday games? I do like the 3 Sunday games. I kind of wish they would start at midday, though. I think it'd be really fun. Like if they put the New Zealand game at midday and it was 2 p.m. in New Zealand, that'd be killer. Like, that'd be great. And I get it's not as good for TV ratings, but I love day footy. Big fan of day footy. I miss the Auckland Nines as well, actually. That was all day footy. Good time. Hope's still good for a red dot. No. So he's on the bench there. So I wouldn't buy Hope now. Tristan Hope he was a buy last week because I thought he could score 50 and he was a cash out. And maybe a red dot, but he seems to have played too well and kept his spot, which is, I don't know if that's going to stay that way, but it is that way for now. What to do with Bird? If you got him last week, you could probably sell him. You could give him another week. I'd probably hold him for another week. Just give him 1 week and see what happens and figure it out next week. Tanner Boyd, yeah. Sukar, not a great scorer. I'm going to say no to Sukar. Bird, hold a week, but you're probably going to be selling next week. Just hope for a miracle, basically. Play Latu or Luai. Definitely Luai. Latu Fainu is not the best scorer, guys. So Latu or Drinky. He's a great player. Like, I really enjoy Latu. I played him last week in my side, but with Luai back, Luai will be dominant. Latu Fainu, he had a lot of attacking stats last week for that 60. He needs to dominate. I think the Warriors will be too tough of a matchup for him this week. So we'll keep rolling through and we jump down to Parramatta here. And for Para, Lomax is one you can consider. Fringe keeper, dual position, goal kicking, all that sort of jazz. If you think Parramatta is going to be decent down the stretch, which is a hard bet to make, then for the rest of the Para backline, there's nothing really here to talk about. I do love Josh Adokar's form in real life, but it's not translating to fantasy necessarily. Forward pack here, Williams has been good, but not quite a keeper. Geimer just doesn't get the minutes there. Kautonga, Hobgood. Yeah, look, not much to talk about here for the Parasite. It's really just Talon De Silva. Now, I still like Talon De Silva in this team. There's been a lot of chat going around from Paras management and that kind of thing that Talon De Silva will be the primary hooker and Riley Smith will be at hooker as well. But Riley Smith is going to play as an undersized 13 for parts of the game. So we're going to see a situation where I think Talon De Silva will be the Damien Cook and Riley Smith will be the Jacob Little, except Riley Smith will be the one that moves to the middle. So I think Talon De Silva this year ends up at about a 50-minute role at hooker. Do I think it happens straight away? I think there's a good chance that he plays 50 to 60 minutes in this game. I think he might come on at like the 30-minute mark for Joey Lussick and play out the game. I really do believe that's going to happen this week. I don't think Joey Lussick eats up all those minutes. If De Silva is a bit out of conditioning, then he might go off early at the end, though. So it might end up being like a 40-minute game. So I like Talon De Silva. He's a cash out. He has some upside. Could potentially be a desperation play on your bench, but he's 230K. That's the big appeal there. He has good job security. They paid a lot of money to get him, considering he's a guy who hasn't played a ton of first grade. So get De Silva 100%. Don't even think about it. I'm not worrying about the bench situation at all. It's 230K. If Tamari Martin was starting, we'd get Tamari Martin over De Silva, but without Tamari Martin, you have to go get De Silva 100%. Are we still getting Yo? Yeah, I like Yo this week or next week. Bad that Talon isn't even starting with Riley still to come back. He's only just come back into the team, so I think this is okay. I think he'll play pretty big minutes here. I think regularly they might even have Riley start as well, and then bring Talon off the bench too. Then Clark at 9. Let me just quickly flick that light back on. But Clark at 9 over Cook. Yes, 100%. Aaron Clark is the man. Aaron Clark is the GOAT. All right. You're running Aaron Clark into the ground unless there's an issue, but Aaron Clark's that guy. Jermaine Hopgood, if he ever got the minutes again and looked good, we would. Parasite or Parasite. Yeah. Too risky to miss Yo and get Tino instead. This is a money-saving strategy you can run. I'm not completely against it. Look, Yo's that 60 guy, but if you want to go a different way, you totally can. We've got Tino at a really good price there, so not a bad shout. Can you get Talon if you have Jed Stewart, or should I limit cheapies? If you need the cash, I still recommend doing it. I think Talon De Silva is going to be a reasonable sort of 35 to 40 average kind of guy in your team, and you're not going to need him most weeks. Couch to Gus, Pong to Ed. We'll talk about trades at the end there, actually, guys. So I'm nearly done with the teams, and then we'll go trades. Good to see you, Loza. If you guys don't know Loza loves falling asleep on our team calls on Wednesdays. We're good to see you, mate. Now, we'll roll past Para. We'll go into the Panthers here. And there's a bunch of trade questions coming through, so I'll hit those after the final game on Sunday. For the Panthers, we've got Laurie, Jenkins, Tungo, McLean, Alamotti. Then we've got Blaze and Schneider in the halves. Leota, Kenny, Smith, Garner, Papali'i, Eisenhuth, Cole, Henry, Patea, and Gaia. And then the entire starting team on the extended bench. So the Panthers will have some guys back up from Origin 100%. My guess is all of them except for Brian Tor. But obviously we need to see how they play in Origin to figure that out. I think most of them will back up, though. So for the Panthers, you're really looking at the top tier guns, and we'll talk about this in buy, hold, sell quite a bit. Isaiah Yo is a must at 749K. So cheap. Doesn't have to be this week. Could be next week instead. But in the next couple of weeks, you want Isaiah Yo on your team. If you want to go a different way, I'm not against it too. Like, there are other options as well. If it doesn't suit your team, you don't have to go Yo, but he's a great option. He's a great option. If you were tossing up between Yo versus most options, it's probably going to be Yo. Like, you really want Yo on your team. Like, he's priced at about a 55. He's going to average sort of low 60s. So he's value, and he's just so reliable. So I think Yo's a great option there. Yo won't come off the bench, by the way. He will be starting, is my expectation. But I will say I'm going to wait a week on Yo. So I'm going to give it a week. I think this Origin game is going to be tough. Although they do play Sunday. So what's that? 4 days later, potentially enough time for him to back up well. So if you're an Isaiah Yo fan, this week or next week, I think is a really good time to get Isaiah Yo. And if you're tossing up Yo between a few options, I think he's a strong option. Nathan Cleary is a bit different. So he's more expensive, 900K, but his form recently has been really good. If he backs up, it's a bit risky here. So playing on Sunday, unless you're trading a player who has a bye for Nathan Cleary, you probably it's a bit risky because he may not back up. I think he will back up, but he may not back up. So he's been carrying a few injuries through Origin. They've pushed into the 8 there. I don't know if they desperately need him to play here. So there's a chance Cleary doesn't play. I think wait a week on Cleary as well. That's just my read on this. I'm being a bit cautious with some of these Origin guys, but I really just don't think you can stuff around too much with guys who are going to get hurt. And it's not that they are going to get hurt. We'll do a bit of a breakdown on this after the Origin game, but I'm just trying to be a bit cautious here and probably use 4 trades next week, even though I have trades spare this week. That's kind of where I'm sitting on this, but I think Cleary's a great option for next week. Good to see you, Jay, by the way, watching from London. I love the display picture, mate. London, how you going, mate? How you doing, bro? I've got to get a few wins in our head-to-head comp, brother. Then Tyler Boyd comes in. What duo would you rather, Aaron Clark and Tino, or Connor Watson and Yo? Whew. Also, cheers for the tip, bud. Appreciate that. Clark and Tino or Watson and Yo? It's probably going to be Watson and Yo, I would say. I think Watson is a couple of points worse than Clark, but Yo is a solid amount better than Tino. Tino, though, I probably want all these guys really. If you're targeting guys to buy, I would say you target Tino, Watson, and Yo because they're all very, very affordable. I think Aaron Clark is a little bit overpriced right now. So if you're targeting guys to buy, I'd probably leave him out and just target the other 3. If you're buying 2 this week, the 2 for this week would be Watson and Yo, 100%. I think Tino carrying that sternum issue, that just makes me think, let's give him a week and let's see how he backs up. So let's keep rolling through these teams. And it's got the last team here, and then we'll do a few trade questions. Titans v Broncos. All right. So last time these two played, the Broncos pounded the Titans. Absolutely pounded the Titans. But the Titans have a secret weapon. They have a secret weapon, and it's David Fafita in jersey 16. So Titans team here, we got AJ Brimson at fullback, DeGroot, Kelly, Fafita, Sami in the back line, Foran and Campbell in the halves. Then we got Fodawaker, Verrills, Campbell, Gillard in the front row, Randall, Firma, and Big Tino in the back row, Alec Wienke, Jolliffe, Fafita, and Haas on the bench there. Broncos, we've got Walsh, Karapani, Staggs, Shibasaki, and Mariner in the back line, Ezra Mam and Adam Reynolds in the halves. Then forward pack here is Willison, Hunt, Haas in the front row, Pierre Kura, Ricky, and Carrigan in the back row. Interchange, we got Walters, Hetherington, Jezewski, and Smoothie. So my first piece of advice here, I'll talk about this all because there's not too much to talk about for both these teams. So for the Broncos players, guys like Xavier Willison from last week, Kobe Hetherington, really anyone you want to talk about there who went well, don't overreact to any of it. They've got all their players back. Last week they were missing a bunch of guys, so I wouldn't overreact to any of it. I would say you're not jumping on Xavier Wilson this week on the back of a great game last week. But let's go to the Titans here. Jaden Campbell is a great option this week. He didn't score great against the Broncos last time, but he's generally just a strong option. So you can just keep rolling with Jaden Campbell. He's a good shout, 100%. The rest of the Titans team, meh, not really that interested. Forward pack here for the Titans. Bo Firma is a great option as well. Always a good option. Good attacking stats. Tino, I like him next week. I wouldn't get him this week. And bench, Dave Fafita is one to keep an eye on in case he comes back into the starting side and plays 80 minutes. But he sounds like he's been a bit of a diva recently, just based on news reports. I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, I'd just wait and see. I would let Fafita prove it to us first before we jump on. Exactly. He's too sketchy. And look, I love Fafita. I love his talent. I find him very enjoyable to watch. And as a player, ex-player myself, I relate to his, use all your energy on attack and don't worry too much about defense mentality. But yeah, at some point, Fafita will be on our radars. Not yet. Ethan mentions it too. Physio did say Tino's sternum starting to feel better. I just want to see it because he's going to play a big decider here and then he's going to be backing up. I'm going to give it a week. I want to see him play well in this one before we make that call. Ben Hunt, we'll talk about him now. So for the Broncos, Reese, well, actually, let's work from the top. So Reese Walsh, if you're desperate for a wing fullback and you want to go cheaper, I don't mind Walsh. Titans matchup is really good. He's been 18th man in Origin. The knee issue he has isn't great. It's not great. We'll talk about that as well. So when we do our injury special later this week, we'll go into that in more depth. But the knee issue is not great. But other than that, I think he should go well in this game. And at 520K, if you want to cut price pseudo keeper, if you're a bit poor, for your fantasy side, you could jump on a guy like Reece Walsh. Then for the rest of the back line here, Adam Reynolds, pseudo keeper, not quite there. You probably got on him already if you wanted to. Corey Jensen, one of you guys mentioned, out 4 to 6 weeks. Let me just try and find the comment here. But with Jensen out 4 to 6 weeks, you could make a case that Xavier Wilson will get more minutes here. I don't think he's keeper level, and he's not going to get that 75 minutes again. So I just don't see him being good enough to go for. But if you're really cheap, you can jump on that Xavier Wilson pod. So totally up to you what you want to do there. I'm not going to be recommending him too much. I might pop him on the pod list, but really only if Payne Haas or Pat Carrigan miss time, I'd be talking about him. Without one of those missing time, it's not that exciting. Then Brendan Piakura, the GOAT, we love him. Payne Haas backing up from Origin. The issue is this could be a pretty big win, so Payne Haas may get a bit of a rest. Payne Haas is still under an injury cloud for Origin as well, so I worry a little bit about that. Ben Hunt, let's talk about him. So Hunt averages 63, and Tigers mentioned 63.2. Okay, see, we've got one more precise. You got to be super specific, guys. So let's get on Ben Hunt's stats here, because Hunt's had a long career, right? He's had a long career at halfback. So again, this is Footy Statistics, by the way. It's footystatistics.com. If you want to jump on, free website. Feel free to check it out. Actually, no, we're not going 25. And these are sort of the tools that I use for this stuff. So if you haven't used them, definitely worth a look. So Hunt played a bunch of games at hooker in 2020. That Origin game with 2 tries in 2021. And then he played a game there in 2023. I don't know if he actually played hooker in this game. I think this might be a little fraudulent. There's no way he played hooker and made 18 tackles. So I think that's fake. But it doesn't really affect the average here. So see, a 63.2 average. You've got a tackle average in sort of the mid-40s there. It's all really around that 40 mark. A couple of games at 50. Missed tackles, surprisingly low. Ben Hunt actually misses a lot of tackles at half. So 3 to 4 missed tackles a game. Let's call it 3 to 5 missed tackles a game here. Then attacking stats. Pretty good try-assist ratio here. So 7 try-assists every 10 games kind of thing. Like a 0.7 try-assist ratio. 1 try, 1 game with tries. So you got the double in that game, but other than that, 2 tries in 11 games. Run meters, 54. A few kick meters out of dummy half as well. This looks pretty good. The issue here is that he's playing 80 minutes in most of these games. So it's an average of 76.5 minutes. Very unlikely he plays 80 minutes for the Broncos at hooker. So what we're really looking at is, when he played 63, it was a 48. When he played 62, it was a 44. I think it's more like a 40 average for him at hooker. He's also too late to get dual position. He definitely won't get dual position at this stage. So, look, he's cut price. He's definitely more affordable. But the bench here, the bench we've got for the Broncos is just not quite ideal because you got Billy Walters, who had a great play in that game last week and winning them a game for the Dogs. So that's my kind of worry here. So I guess there's some good analysis here. DG mentions 0.83 ppm at 50 minutes is a 41.5 average. So you're paying for him. He's a 30. He's priced at a 32. You're getting that 41.5. Titans matchup is one where there could be some attacking stats potentially. I don't love it. I don't mind it. If we were in round 10, I'd be saying yes, 100%. Go buy Ben Hunt. Round 2, yeah, 100%. Round 5, yeah. Like round 15, 100%. But not like right now. We kind of want those super cheapies or keepers. And Talon De Silva, for example, is Ben Hunt, but maybe 5 points worse. But he's 230K instead of 430K. So 200K extra. That's the difference between Scott Drinkwater and Latrell Mitchell. at your wing fullback spot. So that's where I sort of look at this, and I probably won't be recommending Ben Hunt. We'll put him in the pod list because he does have big upside. And if you're a coach that's very poor and you're low on cash, you can jump on. But other than that, I would say most people probably not going to be jumping on Ben Hunt. So Ben Hunt, new channel mascot, not a bad shout. Not a bad shout. He's just been so good before though, and Pierre Kura needs to earn his way out of. He's got to get to 500k. Pierre Kura, he sort of dropped off recently. We need him to heat up again so he can graduate. Tanda Silva or Fletcher Hunt. Yeah, let's go through some questions, guys. So fire through some questions for me at the end here, and then we'll wind down. Tanda Silva, Fletcher Hunt. I go Tanda Silva. I think he's the best shout. Good for season keeper on the bench. If you need that, it's not a bad shout. He has good job security as well. Like, he's going to be good there. I think he will have some big attacking plays. I think he goes 50 plus in this game. So if you're going to play him this week, then you can get on Ben Hunt if you want to. Thoughts of Nakora to Gus or wait a week post Origin? I'd wait a week on that one. I'd probably wait a week. Pivot out of Lawson for someone like Talon Silva or DWZ, or treat Lawson as a red dot cash out. I would cash down LKT. Yeah. Just treat him as a red dot. Save yourself the trade, and you can trade him later if you need to, but I would just use him as a loophole red dot, man. Then Yo or Watson. Yo or Watson. We're going for Watson this week, Yo next week. That's kind of how I see that. They're both really good options, though. Like, they're both in my plans. Couch to Eli Katoa. Svar to Yo. So Couch to Eli Katoa is good. Svar to Yo is good. LKT to Watson is good. And Garrick or Tarpanay to Talon de Silva is good as well. Yeah. Probably sell Garrick before I sell Tarpanay. I don't know. Tarpanay, minutes have been really bad, but maybe he bounces back. It's a hard one to read with Tarpanay. Like, no one really knows what's going on there. Then True, Talon, better for cash. Exactly right. Yeah, I like Talon de Silva better than Ben Hunt. Carrigan, major sell. Not a major sell, but you can sell him. I don't know why you would have held him through the Origin period, then sold him now, though. So if you have Carrigan, you might as well keep him at this stage. With limited trades, would you trade your average players for cheap guns? So Tavanga to Gus Turbo, and Kautonga to Feeder Walsh. I wouldn't sell Kautonga for Feeder or Walsh unless you need the wing fullback. So probably Kautonga to Walsh, I would say, because it sounds like you need a wing fullback. And Tavanga to Gus is a good trade too. So yeah, those two I would say are good. I wouldn't target for Feeder and Turbo though. Turbo is okay, but you've sort of lost the buy round coverage with him. He's more expensive now. So as a Turbo owner, I wouldn't necessarily recommend him now. Is Horst a firmer sideways? Pretty sideways, yeah. Unless you need the center. Firma's positionally more valuable if you require that. Then LKT to Talon. Andrew, good to see you, mate. You were the one who won the first Origin jersey, hey. So, yeah, guys, by the way, check that out too. We've got with Smart Play. I released a video on this the other day. Origin giving away 5 jerseys for the top scorers. I think Andrew was one of the ones who won one of those jerseys and came first. But LKT to Talon is a good move. Yep, downgrade. Cleary, Katoa, Savala, Finer, only 146k in the till. I still think you make that trade, yeah. Katoa or Firma. Depends if you need the center cover. If you need the center cover, go Firma. If you don't, I'd probably go Katoa. Tarpanay, Talon de Silva. Not a bad shout. I don't mind that. Then Aitken, Burton, Couch. All reasonably sellable to Cleary, Watson, and Kit Kat. Like as in Kitioni Kautonga. I probably wouldn't target Kitioni Kautonga, but or do you mean Isaiah Katoa, maybe? But yeah, in general, I like those trades. Jazz to TDS, yeah, great trade. So Talon de Silva in for Jazz is a perfect trade. And then Latu, King Tonga, or I would trade Metcalf. Yeah, make that move. Piakura got a PPM of 1.3 HIAs a game. Piakura's our GOAT, man. He's going to get it done. Garrick to Watson, Tarpanay to Cleary. Yep. And Purdue to Talon de Silva. Good trades, man. Yeah, so really, you're trying to... So best buy via Broncos, last one here, and I'll go through a few more. So you're trying for the Broncos. Reece Walsh's value. Ben Hunt's a real pod. Payne Haas is that season keeper. They're probably the 3 that I'd be talking about there. But for right now, for this week, guys, if you're making a few trades, have a look at your team, right? So make trades that will improve your scoring this week significantly. If you're covered at a position already, you don't need to make trades this week and you can put it off till next week. But I would generally say you're trying to make, like, let's say you're trying to make 3 trades or 2 trades, and you're trying to grab one super cheapie like Talon de Silva and then buy 2 guns. So you're selling, Jackson Purdue, Jazz Tavanga, these guys, and you can sell 3 guys who aren't that useful for you and buy one super cheapie, which frees up cash, and then upgrade to 2 guns. That's what you're trying to do, right? So any trade of that variation where you're telling me I'm selling 3 guys that I don't need and I'm buying 2 guns and a cheapie, I'm going to say yes. Like they're all good trades. It just comes down to which guys you pick at that point. Now, buy, hold, sell is going to have all the information on that. And then post Origin, we'll do a breakdown of backing up and players carrying injuries and that sort of thing too. But that trade variation. So really, just to really hammer this home, because this is the most important thing right now. It is all that matters. If you're doing 2 or 3 trades, you're selling 3 guys who aren't useful. They're not guys you want in your 17. You're buying 1 dead set cheapie, Talon Silva. You're buying 2 guns that you want in your top 17. Value is important, but you want them in your top 17. That's the main thing that you're pushing for there. So yeah, target that. Now, some interesting questions coming through. Kolomatangi to Yo from Luke. Kolomatangi is one that I don't know. I'm going to give him time. But it hasn't looked good. I think you've got other guys you want to sell instead. Top 3 buys. I like Connor Watson. I like Isaiah Yo. And I like probably Jaden Campbell, I would say. They're probably the 3 guys that are big buys. Junior Barlow, Pod, not quite a keeper, man. What to do with Kane Bradley? He was a cash out. You just let him sit there. He's a cash out. You weren't expecting him to play this week anyway. Is Savard a sell next week? Probably a sell next week, but let's see how he plays. Any intel on Aitken yet? So he did pull at a hammy the week before. I did comment on it actually now, and he went back on the field, which is surprising. I would say he's probably back in round 20. And I would say they probably don't play him at center in round 20 as well. So you can sell him or you can keep him if you think he's good enough to be a keeper. It depends on your team, really. I've seen some teams where they should hold him and other teams where selling him is a decent move too. And prediction for the decider. And let's finish on that, guys. Drop me your comments. Drop me a comment on what you think will be the score of the decider. Blues v Maroons. From my side, I'm looking at that game. I think it's going to be a big game. I think it's going to start very hot, very fiery. It's going to be really fired up, this game. I'm expecting the Blues to get up. I'm obviously very biased and a Blues guy myself, Blues through and through. But I'm thinking the Blues get up big. I think it's like a 38-10 kind of game. I reckon they run away with this one at the end. We got some questions here. So, some predictions, So Queensland, 28-22. Love it. Love it. Fire up. 18-21, New South Wales. We got 13 plus Queensland. Blues fan, but Maroons, 24-20. Oh, I hate to see that, Theo. You got to back your boys, mate. I want only bias, guys. You got to be so biased. Queensland to win from Stu Pringle. Kai says Blues get up 22-20. I can't believe this. I want how dare you guys? You got to tip your own team. 22-6 NSW. Blues 24-18. New South Wales 13 plus. Yeah, you're with me. 38-10 from me. Yeah, let's see if it pays off. 13-12, money man of the match. But I hope Munster has a good game. I'm obviously cheering for the Blues. I do hope Munster has a good game, though. Like, he's going through it right now. Then Queensland, 100-0. Tell him he's dreaming. Yeah, it'll be close. Didn't say everyone say the Blues would win big game 2, but I also said it in game 1. I said Blues 13 plus game 1 too. So I basically every game have just said Blues 13 plus because I'm so biased. Like, you can't take my Origin predictions too seriously. Then Blues on top, 12-8, man of the match, Nathan Cleary. Good to see. It'd be good to see him step up in a decider. Queensland 24-22, Munster man of the match. Yeah, we got some good predictions. So most people are sort of saying that 22-20 kind of scoreline there. I'll just flick all these up here as well. Yeah, and let me go, guys, too. Where are you guys watching Origin? Like, hopefully you're doing something. If you don't have any plans, make sure you at least flick a message to a mate or something like that and hit them up and say, hey, let's watch some Origin, drink a few brewskis, all that sort of thing. Get together with someone, go to a pub, do something for Origin. That's from Pledio. I know most of you guys already are, but everyone get out there. All right, cheers, guys. That's Teamless Tuesday done and dusted. I'll see you guys on Buy, Hold, Sell. That comes out 7 a.m. tomorrow. Also, if you're a Para fan, I'm on the Talking Para podcast, and we're actually interviewing Chris and Inu tonight. So if you're a Para fan and you want to see me talk to Chris and Inu, that's on at 8:15 p.m. on the Talking Para Facebook page. So yeah, check that out too. And appreciate you, A-Dog. Love you too, mate. Love you all. Let's get into it. Enjoy your Origin. I'll see you guys on Buy, Hold, Sell. Peace out, everyone. Get those trades in.